It's the panic hour for Jake Paul as boxing experts just destroyed him after recent training footage. The problem child has caused a stir with his recent training footage, and pros are sharing their 2 cents on it. Jake is gearing up for not one but two of the toughest fights of his career, and it's not looking good for the athlete. If you have a knack for watching Jake get absolutely annihilated by boxing pros, stick around because you'll love this one.
And I honestly, I just think it's sad, bro. I think it's super sad. I don't know why Jake took it. It's lose-lose. Literally, he knocks out Mike Tyson and he's beating an OAP.
Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson has been making waves in the boxing community ever since it hit the headlines. There's no denying that it's a big one. It has even caught Netflix's eye, which will stream the bout live as the first ever live boxing event on the platform. But being a big fight doesn't mean it's a good one. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul is a terrible mismatch and a disastrous fight for the boxing scene. The boxing community has been concerned that Jake has bitten off more than he can chew. Don't get me wrong, I know the guy has been rising the boxing ladder and making his way up there. Love him or hate him, this guy has had some real knockouts in the ring. His fights with Ben Askren, Anderson Silva, and Tyron Woodley are proof that he isn't just a YouTuber putting on gloves for fun. Jake knows what he's doing in the ring. But does knocking down a retired NBA player like Nate Robinson make you good enough to fight the best boxer of all time? If you ask me, no it doesn't. And Paul's longtime rival, KSI, has got the same opinion. This fight is a lose-lose for Paul in all cases. He's not going to get praised if he wins because he's a young boxer in his prime going after a 58-year-old man who just had a health emergency. You can't really bet against the 27-year-old, can you? For God's sake, Mike's pushing 60 and he should be nowhere near that ring. Not because he's not a good boxer. Come on, I'm sure there's still a beast inside of him. He's the baddest man on the planet after all. But his body can't keep up anymore and he needs to realize that sooner than later. On the other hand, it's going to be absolutely humiliating for Jake if he loses to Iron Mike. How bad do you have to be to lose to a 58-year-old man in your prime? Jake has made a grave mistake by taking on this challenge. Yeah, having Mike's name as an opponent on your record seems all fancy, but he isn't the same man who became the youngest heavyweight champion. Jake is like 30 years too late for that.
You're distinctly average, but that is a compliment. But none of your...
Eddie Hearn has been the man pulling all the strings and making some of the biggest boxing fights we've ever seen. So the fight world doesn't take his words with grains of salt. This boxing promoter believes that Paul is still pretty average and nowhere on the level to not only beat Mike Tyson, but even fight him. Jake's recent training footage is only giving Eddie's words more weight. Take a look for yourself. You can see Jake throwing punches, working the bag, and sparring with his trainers. At first glance, it all seems pretty typical, right? But for seasoned boxing professionals, it is a whole different story. Many eagle-eyed boxing fans and pros have pointed out flaws in Jake's technique and a lack of strategy. Jake is underprepared for his upcoming challenges, and that's going to hit him like a punch to the face in the ring. The problem child is first set to step into the ring with Mike Perry on July 20th. He was originally scheduled to fight Tyson on this date, but due to a recent medical hiccup, Tyson had to pull out. Well, Jake spent no time replacing his opponent for fight night and went with Mike Perry instead. Now, for those of you who aren't up to speed, Mike Perry's a former UFC star. He's got an impressive record on the canvas, but he's a true star in the bare-knuckle fighting championship. He's undefeated with a 5-0 record and has scored some hell of a memorable knockouts in the ring. As for pro boxing, he's only ever stepped into the ring once, which was a loss to Kenneth McNeil. Fans really had their fingers crossed for Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson for the latter's blockbuster comeback, but Mike Perry will do the job too. At the end of the day, all fans want to see is Jake getting humbled, and if Perry's the man for the job, then so be it. Plus, there's no concerning 31-year-old age gap here, so this fight will definitely be a close one. Both athletes are in their prime and have their eyes set on the prize, which is humiliating their opponent. As for Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, you can hold your breath on it because this one has been rescheduled for November 15th. It's almost as if the boxing community is counting the days to Paul's funeral in the ring because Mike won't be nice to him.
Mike Tyson all the way.
Pros are putting all their eggs in Mike's basket, and why wouldn't they? It's freaking Mike Tyson after all. Yes, he's pushing 60s now, but he's still the man who chewed off his opponent's ear in the ring. I won't be surprised if I see Paul walking out of the ring with one ear instead of two. The problem child has been poking the bear ever since this fight was announced, and an angry Mike Tyson isn't a man you'd want to mess with because he fires back. Nah, he's not going to pull a Paul and take verbal jabs. This man saves it all for fight night. He's going to make Jake regret every single comment he's made on the boxing legend so far.
I hope Mike Tyson knocks Jake Paul out the first time he swings at him. And I think he's going to. Like, I don't think, Jake, like, you can fight all these guys, like.
This fight was terrible for Paul as it is, but the YouTuber turned boxer has somehow managed to make it worse. First off, he's not putting in the work. You have to give it your all when you're gearing up to fight Mike Tyson. That's obvious, no? You can't just step into the ring and wing it on fight night when it's Mike Tyson on the other side. Instead of hitting the gym day and night, Jake's out there promoting his body spray brand and pranking people at Walmart. That's classic Jake Paul for you.
Confused, brother. Let me holler at you.
I'm good.
What the?
Things aren't going well here.
Yeah, I'm starting to agree.
Jake Paul or Mike Tyson?
Jake Paul or Mike Tyson?
That doesn't look like a boxer who's got two of the toughest fights of his career coming up. This is what differentiated Jake from legitimate boxers. While Jake's out there pranking people on YouTube, real athletes are training for fights. The fight world isn't wrong to hold a debate on whether Jake's even considered a real boxer. He's got no boxing background and only got into the game a couple of years ago. The only real boxer on his resume has been Tommy Fury so far, and let's not forget that Fury won that one. Jake claims that he wants to go ahead and become world champion one day, but with this attitude, it's looking impossible for him. To become a world champion, you gotta start acting like one first, and Jake's far from it. It's time Jake starts taking this criticism seriously and gets his game on. Come on, the Mike Perry fight is just around the corner, and there's a lot on the line with this one. Here's the thing, things will go downhill for Jake if he loses to Perry. Come on, just think about it. Will Mike Tyson even want to put up gloves if Jake loses to a bare-knuckle boxer? Jake's legacy is at risk here, and so is the biggest fight of his entire career. No, fighting Mike Perry won't be like fighting Tyron Woodley or Nate Diaz. It'll pose a challenge Jake hasn't experienced in the ring yet. Perry isn't a retired or old athlete. He's in his prime. Plus, this guy has got some bad blood fueling him. Perry has been practically begging for a fight with Paul ever since the YouTuber turned boxer entered the boxing scene. Now that he's finally gotten the chance, Perry isn't going to let it slip by this easily. He's training like a beast because he's only got one thing on his mind: revenge. Paul has been firing shots at the athlete for quite some time now. Yeah, Jake really knows how to stay in the spotlight by stirring up controversy. Perry hasn't forgotten any of it and will bring it into the ring with him. Jake believes that Platinum Mike Perry is simply an appetizer before he fights Mike Tyson, but he's got to be careful because this appetizer might very take him down. Jake's also on the brink of burnout with 2 back-to-back fights in just a span of 3 months. He's got a lot on his plate with 2 tough fights coming up and the promo of his new brand, W, at Walmart. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul is still in jeopardy because Mike's health is uncertain. Yes, it's rescheduled, but I'm only going to believe this one will see the light of the day when I see Mike step into the ring. There's no reason for Iron Mike to go against his doctors and fight Jake Paul. UFC President Dana White is strongly against this matchup. He believes that Mike shouldn't come back. He definitely isn't doing this for the big bucks from Netflix. It all comes down to one thing. Mike's a boxer in his veins. Old habits die hard, and he just wants to step into the ring again. At this age, he's risking everything by fighting Jake Paul. Not his legacy because Jake has gotten nothing on it, but his health is the real question here. Jake is making a dirty move by going through with this fight. I guess we'll have to wait and see how everything plays out. As for now, Jake just needs to get his act straight and start preparing for the toughest year he's had in the game yet. And so, there you go, Fight World. That's all I have for you today. What are your thoughts on Jake Paul's recent training footage? Are you scared for the athlete? Fill the comment section with your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more boxing news. See you in the next video.